Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be talking about how we can get to a lucid state of dreaming that can try to have our own inner experience. And joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is someone who's very well respected and known around the world as a beloved teacher to students. And he has a very clear and engaging style. And today we're going to be talking about something known as dream yoga. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. Tenzin, how are you today?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing very, very well. You know, dream yoga, I don't think I've ever heard of something like that. How did all this start?
Well, yes, usually people think of yoga as very much physical, but yoga is not only a physical movement, but also has to do with the breathing, also exercises with the mind, meditation, and of course here in this case is dream, in the dream yoga and sleep yoga. This is part of the very ancient practice.
Now, this comes from a Tibetan sect, and it helps people to achieve lucid dreaming. Tell us why that's important.
Yeah, first of all, you know, 1/3 of our lifetime we sleep. So average, maybe 25 years, people sleep. So in the ancient time, all the yogis and the masters, that they figured out, okay, if you're sleeping over 25 years sleeping, then that time could be used as a valuable rather than not knowing at all what's happening. So they develop a technique called lucid dreaming. And so that basically means there are exercises that you do to have a lucid dream, which means to be conscious of that you're dreaming while you are in the sleep, while you're dreaming. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of it, that is then if you are aware that you're dreaming in your dream, then you have some flexibility to change if you want it, so not to get stuck in nightmares and depression, sense of loss, but then you can find your sense of yourself, a clarity, direction. So it's the ability to be free from blockages, basically. That's kind of core part of the purpose.
Mm-hmm. Now, do people actually begin as they engage in this practice of dream yoga, finding a greater sense of freedom and groundedness?
Yes, absolutely. I give one example. You know, one of the students, she was telling about her dream, as she said, and she was coming out of the restaurant an evening in her dream, and she was walking out, and she felt like kind of a little bit unsafe. Some guys are following her, and as she goes to the parking place, and these people are following her again, and she goes on a highway, they're following her again, and at some point, and she realized, she was afraid, and then she realized, this is just a dream, and I can do anything in this dream, and she flew the car, and as she flew the car, and she looked down, all these people are stuck, like in a highway or something like that. So she felt like a freedom, a sense of being free from those people who are after her ability to change because she had a lucid dream. So that kind of experience are very important.
I think it's actually excellent, but it's interesting when you hear people a lot of times say, you know, I really don't remember my dreams, or they hear things like, I heard you really never dream in color but only in black and white, and, you know, is this something everyone can do? And I say, well, absolutely. It's like anything. You have to practice at it, though. What kinds of ways do people practice so that they can achieve this lucid state, perhaps on a regular, basis?
Yeah, so first of all, I think many times people remember not remembering their dreams, but they don't remember to pray, to wish, to send a good intention, heartfelt intention that may I have a lucid dream, may I have a clear dream, may I be able to transform my dreams. The people don't pray, people don't send heart open intentions. People only remember that they did not remember, and maybe sometimes they are upset they don't remember, but they don't open themselves, wish and pray. So that's what people should do. And when you do that more heartfelt, open prayers, then more likely you will remember and more likely you have successes in the practices.
Now, you had mentioned earlier, Tenzin, about bad dreams or nightmares, if you will, and it's really fascinating because that subject there, I just recently talked with a dream expert, and he says, you tend to have nightmares that are related to life experiences. It's just kind of your way internally to play these out, maybe resolve them. Is that pretty much true when it comes to nightmares?
Absolutely. So, of course, in the Buddhism, it believes not only awakened state, but people also believe maybe even some things has to do with the previous life. But clearly, all the experiences that we had during the awakened state impacts those nightmares. For example, if you have a job that you hate and you are working for 20 years, if you have a boss that you don't like, if you have a perception of boss is a negative person and you don't like it, if you're working with that boss for 10 years. So that's good enough to have a lot of nightmares.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be. Or even,
if you wanted to change the nightmare, then you have to, during the waking state, first of all, you have to recognize your perception of your life, your perception of your work, instead of thinking, this is a bad job, I'm lucky to have a job. This is a bad boss. At least, I can be more open to trying to find solution with this person, my conflict solution with this person. So somehow recognizing your negative perception that you have of job and the boss, and recognizing it's not affecting anybody, really primarily it's affecting your life and your night in your dream, having nightmares. Having like a short dream in a half an hour in a night is not a big problem, but that relationship is affecting 24/7, and that's why people get sick and people lose the motivation and drive and the creativity.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to lucid dreaming, of course, as you said earlier in the program, Tenzin, is that it is a way that we are awake in our dreams while we're having them, and we begin to more or less control, or at least we're really proactive in the outcomes, which is pretty fascinating in and of itself. And you'd have to think, when you were just mentioning about being sick, that if this is possible to awaken in the dream and that, that we are energy, that you could probably use dream yoga, I would think, to really help yourself become better, not ill, healthy.
Sure, absolutely. But not being ill has something to do with your thoughts and emotions and your perception of your life. For example, as we given an example of the boss and the job, so that if you have a dream where you are going to go to work and you realize you're not liking it, or then in the dream you're having a meeting with a boss that you're having a really difficult, challenging experience. And if you are lucid, then you can say, well, this is not a real boss. This is just a dream.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a real job, painful job. This is just a dream. So in dream, I can have fun. So I can have fun with my job. I can be playful and be kind to this person who is my boss. And you are able to change that relationship in your dream. So if you have a lucid dream, if you manage to change your relationship to the job and the boss, that impacts your brain, your heart, your emotion, and you wake up that morning, you might feel very different when you go to the work or when you see your boss. You feel open and you feel more connection.
And it's pretty interesting, too, because we always hear how you be the change you wish to see, and if you want your boss to be more enjoyable to be around, then perhaps you should experience your boss as someone that is enjoyable to be around, and they probably will become enjoyable to be around. Is that how it works?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's kind of funny how easy that is, isn't it?
Yeah. For example, like a sense of self, perception of self. The way you feel your sense of self will define how you perceive others. So if you feel like not good, if you feel fearful, then you not happy, then you're going to see the job and the boss like that.
Mm-hmm.
You will perceive the job and the boss like that. If you perceive the job and boss like that, it will respond to you in that situation. Then you have more interactive negative emotions which you accumulate, and over time it's affecting your health, your well-being, and then particularly also in this case your dreams, your sleep, and then they impacting negatively the night and dream, and the nightmares impacting the day experience. So the cycle of negativity goes on. But in the contrary, if you're aware in your dream, you change your dream, your relation to your boss and the job, that impacts, a little bit impacts. In the waking state, you feel more open, you feel more connection, and then when you feel that connection and more open during the waking state, then that impacts the night again. So there's a positive cycle goes on.
Mm-hmm. So it's a good way to change, again, as I was mentioning earlier, the energy that you experience in a different direction.
Sure, absolutely. For example, in dream, it's easier to change because it's just a dream. In awakened state, it's harder to change because it's not a dream, it's a real. That's what we say. We label it's real, it's serious. Anytime we label something serious, we have a problem with that. Like people can be together for 10 years together very well, and then people say, now we have been together for 10 years, let's get serious now. Mm-hmm. The moment they say that, they are in trouble. The seriousness brings trouble. The real things brings trouble. Dream-like, illusory nature of experiences, we are able to more open to them.
Now, I've practiced lucid dreaming for many, many years, and I find what's fascinating about this is when you were talking earlier about how, that in the dream world it's just a dream, so it seems maybe, and I'm using this word very loosely, easier to change or manipulate things than in the other world where you're awake, okay? But actually, I would have to say, and it sounds to me like you're saying the same thing, that also in this reality it's just as easy to change too. You just more or less make the decision to do this. But, for instance, one of the lucid dreams that I actually achieved was where I could swim underwater, but I could actually breathe the water as easily as if I was breathing oxygen. And the funny thing about that is I took that from a movie where they had done some deep sea diving where they had to fill the suit full of sort of a liquid oxygen, if you will. So it was like they were filling the suit up with sort of a water, if you will. So here I am in this dream, and I'm beginning to be underwater and trying to allow myself to let this water in so I can begin to breathe it in. Now, my mind knows that in the other world, so to speak, in the waking life, is that, that you can't really do this. But I also tell myself in the dream, I understand that, but I know I'm in the dream world, so let's just go ahead and try. And it took me several dreams before I could get to a point where it got easier and easier to be underwater and breathe. So it takes a little bit of practice and exercise. Is that you suggest that in your book, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. So most important thing is, like some kind of level of commitment and dedication to the practice is very important to have some achieve, experiences and some realization through the dreams.
Mm-hmm. Now, your book is The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this book is called Tibetan Yoga of Dream and Sleep, and it has been translated maybe over 25 languages,
Well, when it comes to dreams, it's pretty international. We all have them.
Everybody, yeah.
Now, is there a physical exercise when people aren't asleep and dreaming that you talk about in the book that people can start doing to help maybe elucidate more frequent lucid dreaming practice?
Well, physical exercises, of course, obviously you don't do when you're sleeping. So
I don't know about that because I've actually done in dreams where I've ran marathons, and I don't usually run.
Yeah.
Amazing how far I can run
level,
when I'm dreaming.
You can do, of course, that in dream you can run. Probably it's easier to run in dream than in the waking state. So, but if you're able to run, like if, for example, there was a story about one guy who had some injury and problem with the walking, but the guy was very good and having lucid dreaming, and the guy who has lucid dreaming in the night, in the dream he was walking all the time and jogging, and by doing that he improved his healing ability to walk much faster. So yes, absolutely you can do that. But what I'm saying here is there are some physical exercises that you can do during the waking state in order to overcome some of the deep-rooted conditions. For example, if somebody is dreaming a nightmare associated with a deep sense of fear, so if you can, so in order to work with that fear, or maybe in order to work with that fear, blockages of that fear in your heart, so there are exercises directly related with the heart chakra, the movement and the breathing. And so what you're trying to do, you're trying to sit in meditation, trying to bring into a conscious that reoccurring dream of fear-related reoccurring dream, bring into a conscious, into awareness, and then you do the exercises and release them through your heart. And repeat that again and again and again. And if you do that, then it does impact that dream. That reoccurring dream might not come back, or come back in a different form.
Now, it's interesting because there are practices beyond just getting over nightmares that you can actually, as you begin to lucid dream, travel to other places. You can communicate with other sentient beings. It seems there's a whole slew of things going on here, and it gets me to thinking about shamanism for just a little bit. You know, when you have someone who is sort of the tribal doctor, if you will, and how they discover the certain medicinal plants or plants that are edible that are actually healthy for the group, I kind of had this thought that maybe these plants come into dreams, into the shamans, and that's how they know, for instance, this flower here is good for healing colds, for instance. You know, there's a lot that you can really achieve when it comes to this particular practice, isn't there?
Yes. So, of course, in a dream, you can look at a dream as a doorway accessing a much more deeper information that our waking consciousness or mind have a much harder time to access. So you can access into another world, you can access to go beyond time and space, you can encounter yogis and masters, you can encounter even your own higher sense of self, you can encounter the spirit world, you can encounter, plant spirits. So then through them, then you are able to get information, whatever, about the plant, about your future, about your health, about your practice. Everything is possible in dream.
Fascinating stuff here. I wonder, in the yoga dream practice, are there particular times of the day that are better to do this than others?
Well, I think in generally speaking, like as far as meditation is concerned, people say it's better to do in the morning and in the afternoon, later in the evening, not during the midday. Middays or midday or midnight are not more favorable time to practice because our mind is dull, more or less clear, especially after a big lunch.
Right.
So other than that, I think it really doesn't matter. You can see how many. Is there a better time to mess up our mind? No, we mess up our mind all the time. We confuse ourselves all the time. We get angry frequently. There's no particular good time to get angry. We get angry at different times. So same way, the practices, meditation, reflection, awareness, you can do all the time.
Such a fascinating subject for our listeners out there because, once you start talking about dreaming with people and you sound like you have a certain level of experience or knowledge, pretty soon they just start bombarding you with questions. Well, what do you think about this? And, how do I go about doing that? And I said, well, it's just really very experiential for each and every individual. And, the levels that you achieve or you're able to attain are pretty phenomenal. It just depends on how much effort you really want to put into doing this practice, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely. And also, there are different levels in which you can really approach these ancient dream yoga practice. There are much more advanced level, and there are much more also very simple level. For example, one of the very simple things people should do is, look at the habit when you go to sleep. For example, before you go to sleep, many times people read a book which is not a very pleasant book to read, like a kind of very conflicted books, or you watch news, or you open your email, or something like that. So it's good to give some time before you go to sleep, like a half an hour before, as you're preparing to go to like a temple or church or a sacred place, sacred space, preparing yourself in that way, being in the right kind of set of mind. And the last minute before you go to sleep, trying to go in a very open mind, trying to be in a sense of like a warmth and loving attitude of mind, or a joy attitude of mind. You look at something in your life, maybe you can look at your child's face and just feel loving and feel some smile and go to sleep. Or you can imagine something like a beautiful place that you love, or beautiful things that you love in life. You're trying to bring those images, feelings, and emotions, and then trying to rest in those positive emotions and go to sleep. So those things are very helpful to do. Usually what we do is we go with very bad thoughts, very negative emotions, exhaustion, sense of loss, and those are not good.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine they wouldn't be. Now, how can people find your book?
Very easy. You can go into Amazon, Tibetan Yoga of Dream and Sleep, or you can type under my name, and you can also go to our website, Ligmincha, ligmincha.org, ligmincha.org, and you can also order from there. And there's many YouTube information, different teachings in YouTube. If you type my name, you will find them also.
Very good. Tenzin, thank you so much for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot from this, and it's certainly worth doing. Thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. Again, the name of the book is The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep. I highly encourage that if you would like to create a lucid dreaming practice, which I really encourage you all to participate in, believe me, you're going to have a really good time. The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep is the book. Want to find out more also? Visit us at beyond50radio.com, the number 50, and subscribe to our weekly e-news updates so you can stay updated to what's going on out there with the program. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.